Hi everyone, today I want to talk to you about the world of imposter syndrome, and this is one of the most popular blog articles that I've ever written, so I figured that it would be worthy of a video. So I'm going to read a definition, and excuse me for the fact that I'm reading off a piece of paper here, from Harvard Business Review, which defines imposter syndrome. So they say that it's the collection of feelings of inadequacy that persist despite evident success. Imposters suffer from chronic self-doubt and a sense of intellectual fraudulence that overrides any feelings of success or external proof of their competence. So now we know what imposter syndrome is. We've probably all felt it. And that is my first point. So unless you're Gates or Buffett or Bezos or Jobs, you know, and maybe those guys do as well, then there is a very good chance that we all feel imposter syndrome in some sense. And I feel like there's levels of it. So you kind of just get used to one level, you get over that, and then there's another one above that, and another one, and another one. And I'll give you an example. So, you know, when I started off in my career at the age of 19, and have never worked for anyone else. You know, I was standing up in front of people that were 40, 50, 60, running their own businesses for 20 or 30 years, and pretending, or not pretending, but, you know, I did know roughly what I was talking about, but I didn't really know anything about business, you know, trying to persuade those people that I was the expert in the world of web design and internet. And, you know, really, I had no experience, but I did know my stuff because I'd got the degree and we'd been practicing, we knew what we were doing. So, you know, I had a very, very high level of imposter syndrome when it came to that world. So I'm over that now, you know, clearly 22 years on, very much over that. But now I have different levels of imposter syndrome. So I don't get imposter syndrome when I stand up in front of a room full of 500 people or do a video like this or write a piece of content, but I do get it, as I did the other day, when a university approached me and asked me if I'd like to consider being a professor in practice. And for me, that was very much like, whoa, that sounds pretty heavy. I'm not sure if I'm quite ready for that yet, or if I'm, you know, do I know enough? And all these kind of doubts start going into my mind. So that is my imposter syndrome. So there are levels of this, and I feel like you have to kind of start creeping up those levels as you go through your career. So what do we do to get over these? I mean, the first thing is to be okay with it. Most people suffer from this problem or this challenge in their life, and therefore, if we know that's the case, we're no different. You know, just be okay with it. The next thing I would say is to try and get out of your comfort zone as much as you can, to try and stretch yourself. So that example I gave of me at 19 was one where I'd got involved in a networking event called BNI, which was an event where every week you'd go to it and you'd stand up and you'd say, do 60 seconds on your business. So you'd have to talk about, I don't know, what the latest service offering you have, or whether there was something in particular that the room might need, or someone that you might want to do business with that they might know. And I was a member of that for 7 years, and doing that 60 seconds every week for 7 years gave me so much practice that I was then able to go on and do these kind of things and stand up in front of audiences and deal with all that kind of imposter syndrome from there, because I'd done all of that and I could rely on my knowledge and experience from there. So putting yourself out of your comfort zone to learn is a really important point, because if you don't do that, you know, how else do you learn? The second point I want to make is about perfection, or maybe imperfection, I don't know, which is that when I coach people about content creation, I talk to them, quite often they'll say, yeah, but do people want to hear from me? Or I'm not sure if it's going to be quite right. Or I've spoken to people that have taken days, literally days, sometimes multiple days to write blog articles, and when they should really be able to do this in a couple of hours. And it's because they're striving for perfection all the time. When I started my YouTube channel, I started to put out videos every day. And when I think back to what I did, I created my first video on a GoPro, which was maybe a GoPro 2 or 3, I can't remember back then, fisheye lens in essentially a bedroom in my house with loads of rubbish everywhere in the background. And it was on a pile of books. And I did my video and I put it up onto YouTube, and a lot of people commented and said, you know, okay, well done, but, you know, background and all this stuff. And my wife was saying, you know, God, you could have cleaned up and all this kind of thing. but I got it done. And that allowed me to get better and better and better. To today, when you'd be absolutely amazed, you know, if you saw the difference between that room and a full studio now, with lighting all around this camera here, a green screen in the background, you know, being a digital SLR, microphones that connect lapel-wise, you know, absolutely just a completely different world to back then. But if I hadn't have got going, maybe this world wouldn't have happened. In fact, I'm pretty certain it wouldn't have done. So I feel like learning on the job is a really important part of imposter syndrome, and not being too concerned with shipping things to get feedback. The next point is to find a champion or a mentor in your life. So if you can find somebody who is going to give you some constructive criticism, you know, maybe you could run the article, maybe you could run the video past them to get some really useful feedback. Try not to pick someone too negative, but also maybe not a yes person as well. Then they will give you some really helpful advice before you go live with something. So that's another kind of tip. The next point is to forget trolls. So we're not, well, unless maybe you are, but most of us aren't celebrities. And the celebrities are the guys that really suffer from this world. So we all kind of think of the world of the internet as, you know, troll-based. Yeah, Twitter probably is, to be fair. But that can stop us from getting out there, creating content, writing articles, videos, etc., because we're worried about what people might say. But I can tell you, in the 10 or 15 years that I've been doing this, I've probably only had 3 or 4 negative comments. So, and I've just let them wash over me. So it's unlikely to happen to you, even when you're talking about something particularly, you know, potentially even controversial. So I would say, don't let yourself or the fear of trolls get in the way of what you do. My next tip is to save the good pieces of feedback, and this is probably my favourite one. So my wife and I have a WhatsApp channel called Clippings, and every time I get a nice bit of feedback on LinkedIn or email, whatever it is, I take a screenshot of it and I put it onto the WhatsApp channel. And it's just really nice pieces of feedback over the years. And if I'm doing a big talk or about to do something where I need to be a bit buoyed up then, or jump, you know, get a bit more enthusiastic, then I read back over that channel, and it's amazing that the positivity that brings to me and the way that I feel about things. And the final point is to remember that most people, the majority of people, 99% of people, don't want to see you fail. You know, I talk about this a lot when I'm talking about public speaking. People in the audience aren't there to get you. You know, they don't want you to fail. They don't want you to mess up. And the same goes for content and videos and things like that. So if you can get out that mindset of worrying too much that people are going to find fault in what you do, then you can get beyond that and start to get on with the actual job of creating content in the space that you're an expert in. So there you go, guys. I hope that is useful on imposter syndrome today. As always, subscribe, hit the like button. You know what to do. And until next time, I'll see you then.